Hello, hello, hello. Antphrodite here, your pop culture psychic, back to you again with another conspiracy theory reading. So this time by popular demand, it's one of my most popular requests. I'm doing the Library of Alexandria. What happened? Why did it burn down? Who burned it down? And what was lost? There are a lot of theories, a lot of myths. Nobody knows who's to blame, why, what was lost, none of that. So I'm going to do a reading on it and see what I see. So remember, these readings are all ledger friend tapers only, and let's get started. And if you guys like this, please make sure you join the YouTube members. It is linked down below. It's the join button down below. There is a $5, $10, $15 tier. You get access to exclusive celebrity readings that you won't see anywhere else. And there's a ton on there. Pick a card, story times, and you can win a reading from me. Join. There's a Discord as well. I'm in there all the time. Okay. So let's look at the Library of Alexandria. Chariot, moon, death. Okay, so the moon is deceit and deception. The death is a rebirth. And the chariot is about moving things. So to me, that seems like there must have been a process of moving whatever was in the library to other places before it was destroyed anyways. But the moon is deceit. Yeah, the Four of Wands is the environment reversed. There's a Seven of Wands, an underdog, but that is fire. And the Emperor is reversed. Loss of control. Oh, that looks like an accident. Six of Swords. Issues with traveling. Okay. Hierophant is commitment. Ten of Cups. Happily ever after. To me, I definitely think the destruction of the Library of Alexandria does look like an accident. I'm not gonna lie to you. Now, I am not a super historical person. I don't know all the details of this, so forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure historians or whoever's a history buff will be in my comments and you can help. The Six of Swords is like traveling. Like, think of it like a boat or in the sea or something, right? And then the Emperor is a loss of control. The Four of Wands and the Seven of Wands, to me, that's like an underdog. Essentially what that reads as like, I'm following through with what I was supposed to do, but I miscalculated. So you think of that as like an accident or a miscalculation is probably more along the lines of what I would say. It's like if I was traveling and I thought something was one place, but then when I got there, my coordinates were off. That's the kind of like energy of that. So the destruction of it, quote unquote, not quite certain that I believe that it was intentional. And what's interesting is the chariot and the moon tells me that they were already moving things to other places. So I don't know if they were making copies of what was already in there or if there were multiple places that people were going to. Because to me, it feels like I travel from one, I travel to the other, I travel from one, I travel to the other. It's like went hand in hand with another place, or another library, or whatever the fuck. Now, what's interesting with the moon here, though, that's lies, which tells me that, and this might be controversial. You know when, how do I word this? You know when you make a first draft and your final draft is very different? The Library of Alexandria has given me first draft, meaning it feels like to me, and again, this is gonna be controversial, it feels like to me there's a lot of mistakes in the texts of the Library of Alexandria. Like, I see it as like, oh, there's a bunch of spelling mistakes, or oh, there's inaccurate information, or oh, whatever. It's like the beginning. You know, when you first start making something, your first draft, whether it be a song or art, whatever, is always kind of like the worst. And so for me, when I'm looking at the Library of Alexandria, I'm like, I think there's a lot of inaccuracies in the text. There's inaccuracies in the scrolls and things of that nature that are in there. There's a lot of bullshit. And the death card and the moon tells me that they were trying to fix those. So essentially what I'm seeing is like, as people got more knowledge and learned, they realized how ineffective and inaccurate some of the information was. So think of this almost like, you know, you thinking that, you know, I don't know, let me think of a really good example. You thinking that, you know, the aliens, actually, no, I'm not even going to say that. I'm just going to be blunt. You thinking that God created fire and then realizing that actually it was humans. So it's kind of like that. Like, to me, it's like, I feel like a lot of the initial text and a lot of the initial information was just inaccurate. I also think that when we look at the moon, it feels like there was almost like a reasoning for that. I feel like it was almost like, yeah, Justice, the Lover's card, and the Four of Cups. It definitely feels like the beginning of the Library of Alexandria. I feel like there's a little bit of a battle, and you guys are going to really throw a tantrum at me, but I really do see this. It feels like there was a battle of whoever was in control of, I don't know where this was, Alexandria, I guess. Whoever was in control at that time, whoever dominated, whoever was the ruler, the emperor, the king, whatever. I don't know. I'm not a good history person. I don't know what time period this is. There's a battle for information control. And so for me, I see one person wanting to do something really good and wanting to educate people, and another person being like, no, keep them stupid. Like, to me, it feels very similar to what we deal with now when it comes to propaganda. And so there's one person being like, don't fix it, don't change it, don't give them information. Like, let them think that let them think that, because if they think that, they're behind and we're ahead and we'll remain ahead, right? Let's keep feeding them that propaganda. And there's another person's like, no, there's a thirst for knowledge. We need to correct this information. That's what I'm seeing, which is kind of ironic considering what we're dealing with now. And the Four of Cups to me tells me that I don't think people were super interested either in knowledge as much as we're thinking. I feel like there was also like, how do I word this in layman's terms? You're going to throw a bitch fit and be like, Aunt, you're being dramatic, you're being ridiculous, but I'm trying to explain this to you in a layman's terms. So do not take this literal, but reading isn't cool. How do we make reading cool? Think of it like that. Like, how do we make knowledge cool? How do we make being smart cool? How do we make keeping information available cool? There's this conversation about how do we get people to be interested in it, because I don't think people were. And to be honest with you, it seems like history repeats itself. So that doesn't really shock me. I also think there was conversation about continuously adding false information as well. Ace of Swords is reversed, which is regrets, the Magician, miscommunication, misdirection, Eight of Wands, rapid change. Again, there's this feeling of like, should we change what we're doing? Should we push a certain narrative? That I really do think these were topics of conversation that they were having, perhaps not to the degree that we're having now, but there was some form of like, well, let them believe that, who cares? I really do believe that, and I really do stand by that. However, I also feel like there's like this rise of brute force. There's this rise of physical strength that I'm feeling, which is like, it's like a brute versus a scholar. So there's like this rise of like strength and fighting, and that's all I care about, is being better by brute force, physically fighting. That's all I care about. Man up. And then there's this other energy that's like, no, we need to be smarter, we need to be quicker. And there's this battle here. And I feel like this time period, maybe there was a battle like that. If not, perhaps maybe look into it, because that's what I'm feeling, is like there's a battle of brains and brawn. Maybe I sound ridiculous. Maybe it's a metaphor. Don't come for me, okay? I never claimed to be a history buff. I'm just telling you what I see. You can interpret it how you want to interpret it. I'm telling you what I see in the images, so don't come for me. Yeah, I can tell you right now, histories and social studies was one of my hardest subjects, so don't come for me. That in science, not good at it. Now, the Knight of Pentacles is reversed, the Seven of Pentacles, and the Fool. I genuinely do not believe, and this is probably going to piss you off, I don't believe that anyone cared about the context. Like, I don't think people were like, oh, the public can't know about this information, it's going to take us into a period of time where we're in the dark. I don't believe that. The Fool is about pulling the wool over your eyes. To me, the Seven of Pentacles and the Knight of Pentacles, there's inconsistencies in stories, and the Seven of Pentacles is about comfort. Ace of Pentacles reverse, King of Pentacles. Okay, you guys are really gonna get mad at me. Page of Swords, not worth fighting for. You know when a place is like a tourist trap and no one's interested in buying anything, so they create a ghost story or something that's not real to get people to spend money to watch this fake ghost story? That's kind of what I'm seeing with the Library of Alexandria, is like, how do we get people interested in this? How do we get people to like care about this place or care about this scenario or whatever? How do we get people talking? let's create a story. That's what the Ace of Pentacles is reversed, the King of Pentacles, and the Page of Swords. It's like, how do we get people to fight for this, whether it be fighting for knowledge, whether it be fighting for the place, whether it to be seemingly more important than it is? We create a story. To me, it's like a false ghost story. I don't think this was that important. Yeah, no. The manipulative card, Devil, and the Three of Wands. You want to know what's interesting? Nine of Pentacles. There was something that had a lot of occult knowledge. The Devil card here is the occult knowledge. There is a place that had a lot of occult knowledge that was not shared with the public. There is a hidden place, because I see three. So I don't know if there was multiple libraries or whatever, but there is one of them at least. There's at least three, but there's one of them that is hidden, that was hidden, that has a lot of occult knowledge. This is something that nobody knew about. This is something that was word of mouth. This is something that was very secretive. The Knight of Pentacles says you had to have status to be able to enter. And for me, these are the texts that I think that were important. These are the texts that I think people like are talking about, and I don't think they were located in Alexandria. So someone knew about this information. They knew about this like occult thing. Think of it almost like a cult type of occult thing. Someone knew about this, and they attached the myth to the Alexandria on purpose to like fake the ghost story. But there is something here with a hidden occult knowledge. The Star being reversed, the Knight of Cups being upright, and the Empress being reversed tells me that something about female. Maybe information was buried with a female. I'm not sure. Star reversed and Knight of Cups, feminine energy. Something about this occult knowledge was hidden within feminine energy. Perhaps maybe that's why people were looking at men, but they should have looked at a prominent female figure here. Because the Star is about going under the radar. And it's also about information in which they were gathering from other outside sources, entities, beings, whatever. It's very secretive. Page of Wands, or think of it like a secret society. Three of Swords, Heartbreak, Four of Swords. But this is something that was very gay kept. Very underground. Double life type of stuff. The Ten of Pentacles. I can tell you that the information in these texts talk about the origin of life. They also talk about resource and resource harvesting, and whether it be gold or money or something, there's resource information. Lots of information about resources, where they come from, what they do, the planet, things of that nature. Those are the two big things that I'm seeing about this. The Hangman, Seven of Swords, and Five of Wands. I don't know if these necessarily were found yet. If they were, they weren't understood. Five of Wands about fighting, Seven of Swords, Hangman. This is about not wanting to lose certain things and people fighting over these, but not realizing this is what they desire. It's almost like if people were fighting wars or holy wars and they were fighting about the wrong thing, but the real information that they actually wanted was hidden the whole time. I don't think anybody has access to these. Tower, Knight of Cups, and Three of Cups. I'm not sure if the information was destroyed, but I can say that if it was found, it wasn't understood. Because the Tower is reversed, which is like rebuilding, which means it's in pieces. And so if something was found, it was found in pieces, but nobody understood how important this was. I don't think that someone's hiding this information currently because they wouldn't understand what it means. So if it was hidden, it would be in plain sight because someone can't decipher it. It's almost like a code. But I can tell you that it is something to do with, again, the origin of life. And I do think if people dissected this information, or you know what, it might be a map. It might be a map pointing to something, or a map of our world that we don't understand yet. Like a version of our world we don't understand, like a 4D, 5D version of our world or something like that. Or maybe there are capture points or specific energy points on the map that don't make sense to us, or maybe like geographically because we can't see it and we don't know it. But if you have the occult knowledge, it makes sense. But all I can say is that this information would challenge people's ideologies when it comes to religion. And I think that kind of scares a lot of people. But there is some piece of information. I've seen this in a couple of other readings that kind of talk about the origin of life and resources and things like that. And I don't necessarily think that it supports any of the organized religions that we know of to date. I know that might be controversial to say, but I do see that. So perhaps that's the real tea, you know? I think the Library of Alexandria and the myth of that, I think it borrowed this information and pretended to be that, but I don't think the Library of Alexandria was that. So think of it more like a red herring or a distraction. So, but really, in the end of the day, I think someone was just trying to make something bigger than it was, and I do think it's mostly a myth. So I'm gonna leave it there. I want to hear your guys' opinions and your thoughts. Put them in the comments. I'm gonna read them this time, because sometimes I avoid comments because y'all are mean, but I'm reading them this time. So please be nice. Join the YouTube members. It's $5, $10, or $15 here. There's a join button down below. Until next time, bye guys. That reading was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be.